Welcome to Reflections, the podcast that biblically encourages, equips, and empowers women for apostolic life and service. Here's your host, Dr. Cindy Miller.
Welcome to Let's Talk, and this little episode we're going to do today for a few minutes, we're calling Quick Chats with Good Friends, and I'm very happy to have my friend Kerri Wilson with us here, my other very good friend who's been my co-host numerous times, but today especially she's holding me up, Jennie Russell, and we're here to talk about friendship. So friendship is so important to us, and we want to talk about that. And I want to start, Kerri, because we don't have a long time in Quick Chats. We want to talk about friendships and connection with our walk with the Lord. So talk to me a little bit about that. How do you feel like having good friends, women who are friends, has helped you build your faith, walk with the Lord?
Well, I think that it's certainly a vital part of being in the body of Christ is being connected to other people. We can't be isolated from one another. And so just having people in my life who come alongside and give support, give encouragement, who believe in me and believe in my dreams, and where I can reciprocate that is very strengthening and faith building. It's certainly part of what the body of Christ is supposed to do for one another. We're supposed to build each other up and encourage one another. And I found that I have people in my life who speak those things into my life. I have friends, one in particular who's still a good friend of mine. However, years ago when I expressed some of the dreams that I saw for my future, the comment was, "Oh, I could never see you doing that." And it was so discouraging because, I felt like this was where God was leading me towards my future. It was something that would be happening. And I understood where she was coming from because it wasn't a part of what I really was, the kind of person I was at the time. But it kind of stung to hear that. And I think that real friends within the body of Christ, will find a way to believe in the dreams that God gives you and to support you in that rather than try to tear it down or try to talk against that. And so within the body, and from a spiritual perspective, those people who have done that for me have made a big difference and has helped me become a stronger person.
Well, they're willing to celebrate your wins, which when we were talking about traits that we found in friends earlier, and several, we've been talking about it all day, but, one of the things is that they're supportive and they celebrate your wins, because not all women, for some reason, you can walk with them for a while, and then it's like you get to that place where then it's like you have dreams, God's given you a direction, and then all of a sudden they're not there. They're not willing to. It's more like those comments that okay, it's not going to derail us as friends, but we're obviously not going to be walking this path together because you don't believe in it or see it. And it kind of is going to jump into that next thing that we really were thinking we wanted to talk about, and that is it's inevitable. This happens, as sad as it is, as painful as it is. I don't think any of us sitting here could honestly say I've never been hurt. I know I go to a great church. I have wonderful people in my life, a loving family. I have a great job. So a lot of good things. But even people who love the Lord can hurt other people who love the Lord.
Yes.
We're not always at our best. And unfortunately, I think some people are more resilient than others. They bounce back better. They have coping mechanisms. They have a good network of support. Other women do not. And so if they get into those places of being deeply hurt, it could not only shut them down and have them kind of isolate, but I've known women to even leave their walk with the Lord, to walk out, to just leave the church and faith because they felt like, oh, this one person hurt me.
Right.
So now I'm just going to abandon the whole thing. I don't know. You're kind of in the same field we are. You work with people. Thoughts on that?
Oh, yes. I've had my own journey of hurt as you said, all of us have those experiences. And, with my type of personality, I'm more of an introvert. It's really more challenging for me to make friends in the first place. It's more of a process of friendship, just because of, I think, the kind of person that I am. And when I've been hurt, I've found that it's more difficult for me to actually get out there, step out there, and continue trying to make new friends. I really tend to rely a lot on those who have proven to be solid, rather than find ways to make new friends. So I recognize that in my life. So I think for overcoming that, you have to be very self-aware, and you have to pay attention to how it's affecting you so that you don't go into isolation. And then once you realize that you're struggling, then actually become intentional about how you move forward, and not allowing yourself to isolate, and not allowing the walls to build up to prevent you from being able to make good friends. I'm so thankful because God has brought people into my life that would have never been there if I hadn't gone through difficult circumstances. It's actually the circumstance that caused me to connect with these new people. And if I had never found a way to receive that, then I would have lost. I would have suffered, or would not have been able to benefit from what God was trying to provide for me in that moment, where I needed to be healed and I needed to have faith again in people. So I'm very thankful that God has given me the opportunity to meet new people when I've been hurt, and to walk that journey with me, and to prove that there are still good people out there. And then the other thing that I've really had to be very intentional about is forgiving people, giving space for people to be human, and understand that everybody has a different personality and they function differently from each other, and to learn to appreciate that, and to give a lot of grace, space for grace for people to make mistakes, and to understand that I've probably offended a lot of people too. And I would hate for someone to not recover because of something that I did.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to hold grudges, understanding that very likely I've made some mistakes too, and I've hurt people not intentionally, and to give people a second chance.
Well, I like what you're saying. You made a comment earlier, and you were like, you don't tend to throw away relationships. It might not be the exact words, but, and so kind of really thinking about giving maybe a friendship that has grown cold, but you knew the quality of that person, and maybe it did require, forgiveness and grace to be applied to it. But do you think long-term friendships that grew cold, there's misunderstandings, things happen, wasn't handled well, do you think those could ever recover and be back to the level of healing or healed to the level that they can be what they once were or better?
I've had both, where it was better, and I've had, where it wasn't, where it actually never did recover. The times where it was better in that it was more mature and different. Friendships from my youth where hurt was involved. Took a lot of years for those relationships to come back around, but when they did, they're very enriching. And I think maturity and personal spiritual growth for both of us contributed to that. And we were able to work along each other side by side in ministry, in supporting one another in that endeavor. So most certainly I think that there are friendships that can be better, that come back around. And there are some that maybe they were just there for a season. Maybe they were there for you to learn what not to do as much as what to do. And so I've had both.
And then to be okay, to be grateful for that season.
Yes.
Like, you know what, I'm so grateful for those 2 years. That was really what I needed in that time. Yeah. But it's hard because sometimes what we do is we feel like, I don't know, you can comment on this, we feel like if it ends, it's a failure.
Right.
That something was wrong with them or wrong with us because it ended. I don't know. Your thoughts?
No, I think that's a great thing.
Do we all notice how I have to hold the mic for her? This is me being a friend.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying, because our mindset is to think success or failure. And when there are friendships that come in a season and out of season, so if we can reframe our thought processes there, she was a great friend. I needed her then, and just even though that friendship's not as close as it used to be, but it was still an important relationship, and I'm thankful for it. But it doesn't mean it was a failure of a friendship. It just means it's a different season of friendships. But I totally agree. We don't always look at it that way.
No. And then really always thinking that someone has to be our very best friend in the world. That's a lot of pressure. But you are. But that's a lot of pressure, right? If you have to be everybody's very best friend in the world, or it's nothing. And I think there can be levels of meaningful connection and relationship that gives breathing room, and opens up. It allows room to create a network of support.
Yes,
which resiliency demands.
Most certainly, and I think too, when you talk about qualities that you look for in friendships, one of the first things I'm going to look for is this person trustworthy? It's easy to just look out at it from, okay, this is what I need, and forget to think about, okay, well, what do they need from me?
Good point.
And if my first priority is going to be trustworthiness, then am I a person who's trustworthy? How can we be intentional about making sure that we're trustworthy people, so that we can actually be the kind of friend that someone else needs, and we can look and see and recognize those people that we need as well. And I think in my later years of life, that's become a part of how I seek out friendships. And a lot of self-reflection goes along with that.
Oh, that's been a theme that's running through everyone we've talked to, right? Yeah. Self-reflection, awareness. Yeah, that's really good. We're out of time, but thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here with us, and thank you so much for joining us at Let's Talk Quick Chats here at General Conference. And please do check out the Digital Reflections magazine, what's available now, and like, share, love, whatever you can do. Let's get the word out about Let's Talk podcast. Thank you. Get out there and work on being a good friend.